She refused to sit beside the black man. Then he saved her child. Excuse me. Can you move? I don't want to sit beside him. The woman didn't whisper it. She didn't hide it. Her voice cut through the crowded airplane aisle sharp enough for half the passengers to hear. Her hand pointed straight at Marcus, a tall black man sitting quietly by the window seat, headphones resting loosely around his neck. Eyes tired but calm. Marcus didn't look up right away. He had heard this tone before. In grocery stores, in parking lots, in places where people thought their fear was more important than his dignity. He took a slow breath, steadying himself before lifting his eyes. The woman hugged her little boy closer, pressing him to her side as if Marcus was danger wrapped in human skin. The child looked confused, staring at Marcus with innocent eyes that clearly didn't understand his mother's fear. A flight attendant rushed over, trying to handle the situation with a forced smile. "Ma'am, this is the seat assigned to you. Everything is fine." "No," the woman snapped. "I'm not sitting next to him." The word didn't need to be finished. Everyone knew what she meant. Marcus lowered his gaze again. He didn't talk back. He didn't argue. He had grown used to building walls inside his silence. He gently adjusted the small medical bag at his feet. The same bag he carried every day for work. The same bag that held tools, that saved people's lives, that no one bothered to ask what he did for a living. They only saw his skin, not his story. The woman kept pushing. "I want another seat. I don't feel safe." Safe. Marcus almost smiled at that, not because it was funny, but because life had a strange way of teaching him patience he never asked for. The flight attendant looked helpless. The plane was full. Every seat taken, every row occupied. There was nowhere else to move her. "Please, ma'am," she said softly, "we really need to take off." The woman glared at Marcus like he was the problem, not her prejudice. "Fine, but I'm not letting my son sit next to the window. He stays with me." She pulled her child into the middle seat, away from Marcus, turning her back toward him as much as possible. Marcus looked out the window, the city shrinking below as the plane prepared for takeoff. He had learned to carry pain quietly, like a weight no one could see, but everyone contributed to. The engines roared louder. The plane tilted upward, and just as it lifted into the sky, the boy beside her suddenly grabbed his throat. His breath hitched. His face turned pale, then blue. The woman screamed, a sound that tore through the cabin like a nightmare breaking open. "My baby. Somebody help him, please." Passengers panicked. The flight attendant froze, and Marcus, the man she refused to sit beside, slowly turned his head toward the choking child, because he recognized those signs instantly. He had seen them countless times. It was a medical emergency, and he was the only one on that plane who knew exactly what to do. The boy's small hands clawed at the air as if trying to catch the breath slipping away from him. His eyes widened, terrified, confused. His mother screamed again, louder this time, her voice breaking into pieces as panic flooded her face. "Somebody help him. He can't breathe, please." Passengers rose from their seats. Some gasped, some covered their mouths, some shouted for the flight attendant. But no one moved toward the child, not because they didn't care, but because fear froze them in place. Marcus had seen this too many times. He slid off his seat, calm but fast, his medical bag already unzipped before anyone understood what he was doing. The mother looked at him with wild eyes, fear and disbelief mixing together. And "Oh, don't touch him. Don't." As she stopped mid-sentence, because her son's eyes rolled back, his little body went limp. The mother screamed a sound no parent should ever have to make, a noise that cracked something open inside everyone who heard it. Marcus's voice cut through the chaos, steady as iron. "Ma'am, your son is choking. If I don't help right now, he won't make it." It wasn't a threat. It wasn't anger. It was truth, spoken by a man who had carried too much truth alone. The woman stepped back, shaking, tears streaming down her face. Please save him." Marcus nodded once, a calm, sure nod, and pulled the child gently into his arms. He checked the airway, scanned the chest movements, then placed his fingers exactly where training had taught him thousands of times. Passengers leaned in, silent, Trembling. Marcus pressed. Then again. And again. The boy didn't respond. The mother fell to her knees beside the seat, whispering prayers through broken sobs. Please, God, not my baby. Please. Marcus closed his eyes for half a second, not to give up, but to steady the storm inside him. Come on, little man, he whispered. Stay with me. Breathe for me. He adjusted his position, took a deeper breath, and pressed harder, faster, with perfect precision. And suddenly the child jerked. Coughed. A small, sharp gasp escaped his throat. Marcus froze, watching, waiting. The boy coughed again, louder this time, and a piece of candy shot from his mouth onto the floor. The mother screamed, but this time it was relief. Pure, collapsing relief. The boy inhaled a shaky breath. Then another. Color rushed back to his face like sunrise breaking over darkness. But Marcus didn't stand. His hands were still trembling, because the woman he saved, the same woman who refused to sit beside him, was now looking at him like he was the only light in a plane full of shadows. The sound of the boy's gasp felt like fresh air rushing back into the entire airplane. People who had been frozen in fear finally breathed again. Some covered their faces. Some wiped tears they didn't expect. A few whispered, "Thank God," while others stared at Marcus like they were seeing him for the very first time in their lives. But no reaction was bigger, deeper, or heavier than the mother's. She didn't stand right away. She didn't talk. She just stared at Marcus, really stared, as if her mind was trying to catch up with what her heart already knew. This man, the man she refused to sit beside, the man she judged in one glance, had just saved the most precious thing in her world. Her son. She slowly lifted her trembling hands toward her boy's face, touching his cheeks, checking his breathing again and again, almost afraid the moment might disappear if she blinked. Then she looked up at Marcus with eyes full of shock, shame, and something she didn't know she still had, respect. Is he okay? She whispered. Marcus nodded softly, still checking the boy's pulse. He's going to be fine. He just needs some water and slow breathing. His voice was gentle, calm, warm, not the voice of a man angry at the way he'd been treated, but the voice of someone who had chosen compassion over pride. The mother swallowed hard. Tears slid down her cheeks silently. For the first time since boarding the plane, she didn't pull her son away from Marcus. She didn't shield him. She didn't look scared. She looked grateful. Deeply, painfully, humbly. Passengers around them started applauding. Softly at first, then louder. The sound rolled through the cabin like a wave of emotion, filling the air with something heavy yet healing. Marcus stepped back, uncomfortable with the attention, wiping his hands on his jeans, trying to calm himself. Saving lives was his job, but saving a child whose mother had just rejected him hit different. It hurt and healed at the same time. The mother reached out slowly, touching Marcus's arm. Her voice cracked. I judged you. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Marcus didn't speak, not because he was angry, but because her apology held a pain he understood too well. A pain of someone realizing the truth too late. The boy tugged Marcus's sleeve weakly, his little voice small but clear. Thank you, sir. Marcus knelt so he was eye level with the child. You're brave. You did good. The mother covered her mouth, crying harder now, not from fear, but from guilt. Before Marcus could say anything more, the flight attendant rushed in with a medical kit. Late, panicked, out of breath. Sir, how did you know what to do? Marcus looked up, eyes steady. I'm a trauma nurse. Children's emergency unit. Gasps spread across the aisle. A nurse, a trained medical hero. Sitting beside them the whole time, the mother lowered her head into her hands, because now she understood. The life she tried to distance from her own became the life that saved her child. The mother wiped her tears with shaking hands, her shoulders rising and falling like she was fighting to breathe. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was guilt, heavy, sharp, sitting right on her chest. She looked at Marcus again, but her voice wouldn't come out. How do you speak to the man you judged, right before he saved your world? The little boy leaned against her, weak but breathing, holding her sleeve. Mom, he helped me, he whispered softly. Those words cracked something inside her. She finally stood, her legs unsteady, and faced Marcus fully for the first time with open eyes, eyes that now saw a human being, not a threat. "I'm so sorry," she said. Her voice broke in the middle. "I don't know what I was thinking. I was scared, and I took it out on the wrong person. You didn't deserve that, and you still saved my baby." Marcus looked at her for a long moment, his face calm but tired, the kind of tired that comes from years of being judged before being understood. "Fear makes us see things that aren't real," he said quietly. "It happens." The mother swallowed hard. "But I hurt you." Marcus didn't deny it. He didn't have to. His silence was the truth, a truth that cut deeper because he accepted her apology without anger, without shouting, without making her feel smaller than she already felt. Passengers watched, moved in a way they didn't expect when boarding this plane. Some had tears in their eyes. Some felt shame themselves, because her apology wasn't just hers. It was for all the moments people stayed silent when they should have been kind. Before anyone could speak again, the pilot's voice crackled over the speaker. "Is everything all right back there? We're hearing reports of a medical event." Marcus stood, because what he had to face next was bigger than the emergency he just handled. The airport lobby was calmer than the airplane, but the mother's heart was still racing. Her son held her hand tightly as they walked down the long corridor. Marcus walked a few steps behind them, keeping his distance, giving her space, something she hadn't offered him when they first met. Paramedics arrived quickly, kneeling beside the child, checking his breathing and pulse with efficient hands. "He's stable," one of them said. "He's doing really well thanks to the fast response." The mother nodded, but her eyes drifted back to Marcus the way broken eyes look at the person who held them together. She stepped toward him slowly, like someone approaching the truth they had spent their whole life avoiding. "Marcus," she whispered. He lifted his eyes. Calm, steady, waiting. "I judged you before I even knew you. I taught my son fear instead of kindness, and then you taught me the lesson I should have taught him." Marcus didn't look away. He let her speak, not because he needed her apology, but because she needed to say it. When he stopped breathing, she continued, voice cracking. "I didn't care about the color of the hands that could save him. I just prayed someone, anyone, would help." Her words landed heavy on the polished floor, echoing more than she intended. Marcus sighed softly, not out of anger, but out of years of being misunderstood. "I don't want your guilt," he said gently. "I just want your heart to be open next time. Not for me, for anyone." The mother swallowed, tears falling freely now. "I will never forget what you did, and I'll never forget who I was before you helped me see it." The boy tugged Marcus's sleeve again. "Will I see you again?" "Sir." Marcus smiled. Small, warm, healing. "You will," he said, "because we're not done learning from each other yet." But before the mother could ask what he meant, a police officer walked straight toward them. "Are you Marcus?" he asked sharply. Marcus nodded. "Sir, we need to talk, right now." The mother froze. Her fear returned, but not toward him this time. The mother's heart dropped the moment she saw the officer. But this time, the fear didn't point toward Marcus. It pointed toward the world that had already judged him once today. A world that didn't bother asking questions before drawing conclusions. Marcus straightened his back, eyes steady, calm in a way that only someone who had survived too much could be. "Yes," he said quietly. "I'm Marcus." The officer glanced at his tablet, then back at Marcus with a mix of urgency and relief. "We received reports from the airline," he said, "that a passenger performed a life-saving procedure in the air." The mother gasped softly. People nearby stopped walking. Even the paramedics paused, listening. Marcus nodded. "Yes, the child was choking." The officer exhaled, his shoulders dropping slightly. "And you had medical equipment in your bag. And training. Trauma nurse, right?" Marcus nodded again, slower this time. The mother looked between them, worrying, twisting her face. The officer stepped closer, not harshly, but with purpose. "Sir, I'm not here because of a complaint," he said. "I'm here because we've been trying to reach you for 2 days." Marcus frowned, confused. "Reach me? Why?" The officer handed him the tablet. A name glowed on the screen. Marcus's mother, the mother who died years ago. The mother he thought he would only ever see in memories, in flames, in the dark places of his heart. Marcus blinked hard. That's my mom's name." The officer nodded gently. "This is about her hospital records. About something we just discovered. You were listed as next of kin." Marcus stared, unable to breathe for a second. Next of kin? How? Why? What did this mean? The officer continued, voice softer now. "Your mother had a medical condition. One she didn't know she had. Something genetic. Something dangerous if untreated." The world tilted under Marcus's feet. "What condition?" The officer hesitated, not wanting to deliver the blow, but knowing he had to. "Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy," he said quietly. "It can cause sudden breathing issues, heart rhythm problems, even collapse." The mother beside him inhaled sharply, covering her mouth. The paramedics exchanged looks, serious, knowing looks. "That's why your mother couldn't escape the fire." The officer continued gently. "Her heart failed? Before the smoke took her?" Marcus staggered back. His hand found the wall. His throat tightened, vision blurring, chest heavy with a grief he thought he had already lived through. All these years. He blamed himself. All these years. He believed she couldn't reach him because he ran. All these years. He carried guilt like a second skin, but it wasn't his fault. It had never been. The officer placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You didn't leave her behind. She didn't slow down because of fear. She collapsed because her heart condition stopped her. You were never the cause of her death." The mother beside him began crying again, this time for him, not herself. The little boy reached for Marcus's hand, squeezing it softly. Passengers nearby watched in silence, their eyes full of compassion. Marcus covered his face with both hands as ears of pain cracked open, and finally began to heal. The officer's voice softened even more. "And Marcus, you need to get tested too? You may carry the same condition. That's why we were trying to reach you." The mother stepped forward, voice shaking. "You're not alone in this," she whispered. "We'll help you. I promise." Marcus lowered his hands, eyes red, but calmer now, like a man standing at the edge of truth for the first time. But before he could answer, one of the paramedics gasped, "Wait, what's happening to his heart rate?" Everyone turned toward Marcus, because the machine the paramedic had clipped to his finger was suddenly beeping too fast. The beeping grew faster, sharp, warning, echoing across the quiet airport hallway like a voice calling from deep inside Marcus's chest. The paramedic rushed forward, eyes widening as he studied the portable monitor clipped to Marcus's finger. "His heart rate is irregular," the paramedic said. "Wait up fast. This isn't stress. This is the condition activating." The mother gasped. The officer stepped back. People around them froze, feeling the weight of a new fear settle over the scene. Marcus blinked hard, one hand gripping the edge of a chair, his breath growing shallow. He wasn't collapsing, but something inside him was trembling, shaking like a locked door being forced open. I'm okay," he said quietly, but he wasn't. The mother stepped forward, her hand hovering near his arm, but not touching yet, like she wanted to help, but didn't know if she had the right. "Marcus, please sit," she said softly. He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, she saw fear in his eyes. Not fear of people, not fear of judgment, not fear of pain, not fear of truth. Fear of losing the one thing he never talked about, his own life. He slowly sank into a chair. His breathing eased a little, but the monitor still flashed warnings. The paramedic knelt beside him, speaking calmly. "You're experiencing early signs. Not a heart attack, but you need treatment, medication, exams. You need to take this seriously." Marcus nodded, but his eyes drifted to the mother and her child, the two people who had suddenly become witnesses to the most vulnerable moment of his life. The mother knelt in front of him, tears gathering again. "You saved my child," she whispered, "and now, let me stand beside you." Marcus took a shaky breath. He wasn't used to someone offering help. Most of his adult life had been survival alone. Emotions boxed up, memories buried, pain carried quietly, but now, he wasn't alone in the hallway. Dozens of eyes watched him, not with judgment, but with something he hadn't felt in years. Humanity. The officer stepped forward, lowering his voice. Marcus, your mother didn't die because she was slow. She didn't leave you. Her heart failed her. And now we finally know why. Marcus stared at the floor, tears falling quietly. I thought she didn't make it because of me, he whispered. I always thought I failed her. The mother slowly placed her hand on his arm. You didn't fail her, she said. She spent her last strength trying to reach you. That's not failure. That's love. Marcus closed his eyes, letting those words sink deeper than any medical test, any apology, any truth he had ever heard. The little boy stepped closer and wrapped his small arms around Marcus's leg. Please get better. Sir, he said in a soft, trembling voice. You saved me. I want you to stay. Marcus's heart, the same heart that had carried years of guilt, pain, and silence, finally broke open in the right way. He gently pulled the child into a full hug, holding him tight, steadying himself on innocence and hope. When he looked up, the mother was crying openly. Marcus, she said softly, we'll help you with everything. The tests, the appointments, whatever you need. Let us be there the way you were there for my son, for the first time in a long time. Marcus didn't push anyone away. He nodded. Not big, not dramatic, but enough. The paramedics guided him to a stretcher, not because he was in danger, but because he wasn't walking this alone anymore. As they wheeled him toward the exit, the mother held her son's hand and walked beside Marcus, refusing to leave his side. People stepped aside quietly, some placing hands over their hearts, some whispering prayers, some wiping tears. Marcus looked at the ceiling, breathing steadier now, letting the truth heal him from the inside. For the first time since childhood, he felt his mother's love in a new way, not burned in memory, but alive in the people who chose to see him today. Moral: we are all strangers until compassion turns us into family. Sometimes the person we fear the most is the one sent to save our heart.